Hey everyone, today we're going to be analyzing a couple games from Ginger. He was the highest ranked Falco in the year 2025. He asked me if I'd be willing to swap a few games with him and do some analysis for each other. Of course, Ginger, a much better player than I am. There's this chapter in the book Ego is the Enemy called Forever a Student. And I think Ginger would agree with me that it's really important to always have that kind of attitude, no matter how good you get at something. That's how you stay improving forever. I know it's a little bit different than our usual rank reviews. Ginger gave me the idea and I thought it'd be a cool thing to share with you guys. So let me know what you think. So we're going to look at a couple Falco dittos between Ginger and Lewis, another top 100 player. And just a disclaimer for you guys, obviously this is a really high level Falco ditto. We're talking about two top 100 players. So there might be some really little things that I would make a point to explain to maybe a student that came to me to get coaching, or even analyzing my own games. But this really is first and foremost to try and help Avery. I'm going to call him Avery from now on, to try and help him and give him a perspective that he might not have, so that he can try to tap into somebody else's eyes and how they look at the game, and their philosophy on the game, all that stuff that he might not necessarily be able to access. So I'm going to be kind of analyzing the VOD with that in mind, and some other things in mind too. Like you'll see later in the analysis, there are a lot of things here that I think I personally would do differently than Avery throughout the games, and I'm not necessarily correct or wrong for those things I would do, and he's not correct or wrong for a lot of the things he would do. They're just different things that he can maybe try to introduce into his game. Because when you get into higher levels of Melee, a lot of it is just like mixing up your opponents, being able to quickly adapt and change. And it's not so much like, it's not exclusively following a game plan at lower levels will just win you a lot of games, and that's not enough once you get to a higher level. So just bear all that in mind. I think it's just an important disclaimer. Okay, and so to start out, you guys can see the main themes I have listed here, and I know they seem kind of vague in a vacuum, and they're a bit abstract, but I just want those kind of in the back of your heads, and I want Avery, I want you to think about this too. These concepts of picking your battles and comfort with tension. Again, pretty like nebulous things to be saying right now, but I think they're going to be really clear throughout the games, like why these two themes need to be maybe adhered to more, and I think it would have gone a lot better for you in these games. A lot of the time when I watch Avery play, especially in the Ditto, he's like hyper aggressive. Listen, I know all the memes or whatever, Reddit, whatever, they can say whatever they want about how Ginger plays, but like if you have eyes and you're watching what's happening, and you'll see it in these games as I'm talking about it, like there is a bit of, he's definitely a hyper aggressive player, and I think in the Ditto especially it comes out. And so these concepts I'm kind of introducing, these themes I want us to be thinking about while we watch, so you can see opportunities for to sort of adjust what he's doing and maybe follow these themes a little bit more. The first game we're going to watch is this Yoshi's game. You guys are going to see the very start of this game, I think, is a little emblematic. Like, it literally instantly narrating from round start in the Ditto. If I was coaching a student, I would be like, hey, man, let's get some laser control set up first, please, before we just start YOLOing things. I assume this came from a group of games, and Avery just kind of grabbed a couple that he lost in. And so, with that said, I think it's fair to assume that, Avery, if a fairly highly level player is probably doing this very greedy nair, I would say, with some information. Maybe he scouted something earlier, Lewis maybe aggressing a little too far forward with his laser off the side plat. And so I could see where this is reasonable to do this sometimes, but if we're talking in a vacuum and we're kind of keeping these themes in mind, I wouldn't call this like a battle to pick necessarily. But again, hyper aggressive, I can see it sometimes for sure. Okay, and so this is might be a little thing to a lot of people, and honestly it is kind of a little thing, but something to think about, I think, in the Ditto, especially on Yoshi's. When you get to like the end of the pillar ish, and you get shine in this area, like below the top plat, I think it's generally advantageous to try DI towards the top plat, kind of wiggle up and try to get yourself to have to play defensive mix-ups from here rather than here. It doesn't end up mattering a whole lot, just with like, well, I guess it kind of does. A lot extra had to go wrong for Avery to end up off stage here, but to me, if we're like really trying to squeeze out like the marginal things, I don't think we were required to have to play a mix-up that ended up with us off stage like this, right? And of course, we're not dead, but I would have rather, and again, this might be like a defensive stylistic thing, I would have rather tried to eat some mix-ups up here rather than in a position that puts me off stage, right? Again, stylistic, but just something I thought I'd mention. So this next here, again, little thing, but these little things can add up, right? Like, I don't mind an escape from the situation using a jump. I think a lot of people would full hop here out of this like kind of precarious situation, reasonably so. I just don't see a reason to double jump. Of course, it could be like spamming it to try and like go as fast as you can and like just trying to get out of wake up, I suppose. But if that's the case, to me, this doesn't seem like an escape double jump. It seems like I'm going to try and play a mix up out of my double jump because of how he fast fell through the side plat. Let me watch it one more time just to confirm he didn't just miss the side plat. Yeah, so you can see he fast falls through. He fast falls through, and to me that signals that like our own well-being wasn't on our mind. It was more, how can I turn this a disadvantage into an advantage? And I think that's just generally not how you want to be playing, especially given this percent deficit and the position we're in. Like Lewis has some frame advantage here, I think. Well, not frame advantage, but just like an advantage in I don't know if you'd call it tempo necessarily. That's kind of how I describe these situations, but I just wouldn't feel comfortable fighting from where Avery was at. I would have much preferred to like do something that protected ourselves first and then try to seek, an aggressive mix up later. Even with like the way Lewis drifted here, had Avery just wave landed and shield out of the double jump, this is like the freest shield drop shine of all time. So, hindsight, of course, like he didn't necessarily have to drift it this way, blah, blah, blah. But I think, again, like this is not a battle I would pick, right? And if you haven't noticed yet, guys, I'm going to skip around through the VOD. I don't think it's really worth me letting it play while I don't say anything. I'd rather skip to the notes, and there's a fair bit of them. So we're off stage, we're recovering. Tricky shine stall. And again, I know I keep saying little thing, but like you got to take these where you can find them, right? The little percents. I'm finding myself becoming a bigger and bigger fan of light shielding after this side B edge cancel, especially like based on percent. Hitting this bear didn't even really amount to much. Of course, there's like a way for it to go right. Like maybe it's somehow, I don't really see it comboing into shine somehow unless our opponent overextends again. It just seems unlikely to me. I think I'm becoming a bigger fan of edge cancel into just buffering a light shield. And if you get just tapped by anything, you get pushed off and you can just time your shine to happen and essentially reversal your opponent there, or try to double jump to get out of the push off. I think those scenarios, or those paths out of this scenario, I think are generally more favorable. Of course, there are some situations where I think you'd prefer a back air. Maybe if the percents were flipped, I think that's a scenario I could picture that in. But if we're like really trying to play as well as we can here, I think we're a little bit more aware of the percent and our options given the percent. Yeah, and I think a lot of people are just generally, I think even if they're late, like I know Lewis missed here, but a lot of the time people will like be late and mess up this back air and try to hit you anyway, and then push you off and you just get a free shine. But again, might be a stylistic thing. I just wanted to mention it. And after this fiasco, just pointing out that, wake up shine generally something we should try to avoid. I think it might be a percent thing again. Like it's not as scary to get whiff punish dash attacked at like 0 or something, you know what I mean? But at 140, I think we're asking a lot here. Yeah, I think I'd much prefer to just like shield here most of the time, and take the free shines out of shield that people will give us. Like to me, this is like he's just reading that you're gonna wake up shine. He's not. He is by no means reaction tech chasing this, right? Yeah, we find ourselves with the opportunity to play an aggressive mix-up here. I definitely appreciate like this kind of movement. Like, are you gonna roll? What are you gonna do? Lewis definitely a player. When I played, he tends to roll a fair bit. But I think just given the percent especially, I'm not a fan of trying to early nair here, even if it catches Lewis out of the air. I mean, that's the idea, right? Is that you catch him jumping out of the air here and you can combo this nair into shine. I just think there's too many ways for this to go wrong given the percent and the option we're picking. And I think if we are going to play aggressive, especially without laser control quite yet, I think I would have preferred something like a running shine. If we're really trying to play the percents, I think a running shine is generally more advisable here. At 0, it's so little goes wrong for us, and we obviously would love to hit a shine here. Even on shield, we could start some pressure. I think it's generally more favorable than trying to read an area or some sort of jump out of shield. But again, there's a world where it works. I just wanted to point out, like, if we're trying to look at the percent and play really precise, this is an example of that, in my opinion. And then after we get shine out of shield, we eat this combo. And my note I have for this is a lot similar to the one I had earlier, where I would have really preferred, and like we end up there eventually, but I would have preferred us to just keep DIing like this instead of doing like this way DI and then coming back across the stage. There's a lot of ways we could have, again, ended up on stage like earlier. It didn't quite pan out that way because of the combo route Lewis took. But even this kind of position is what I would have liked to see earlier. You know, we eventually get there with a bit more percent. But you can see, like, I'm just a big fan of making people prove to me that they can handle this situation in their combo routes well. And if they can't, well, then, like, oftentimes we just, like, get out of combos, you know? So just a small thing. If we're like really trying to mitigate damage and force our opponents to punish us as hard as they can and prove that they have the ability, rather than just giving them this like this DI and then this DI, I think that's something we need to be looking out for. So we end up at the ledge after this situation, and there are loads of mix-ups you can play here, right? You can certainly go aggressive or try to get a hitbox out with your Gallant like Avery tried here. And I guess this is a bit of a spoilers, and I have some hindsight, I suppose. But Lewis, and I feel like this is the case with a lot of Falcos in the Ditto, they tend not to over pressure you immediately by the ledge, maybe like some other characters might. And so me personally, I love hitting double lasers in the Ditto from the ledge, of course. It is like such an easy like regain control option. The lasers are so powerful. Even if you get lasered out of them and you send your lasers, you kind of get a little bit of parity and you can get back to playing the game. And so you at least are back to like neutral, even with less stage than your opponent. You at least get to like play from there. I think I'm just not as much of a fan as like trying to always get some sort of value, like hit our opponent's sort of value with an aerial or shine from the ledge. I definitely will go for like ledge dash jump shines. But knowing what I know about Lewis and a lot of Falcos and just from these games, and this very well could have worked out in a lot of scenarios, I think I don't feel that much pressure to instantly ledge dash from the ledge and then try to hit my opponent here, right? Like this type of thing I might look for if somebody's like really aggressing around me near the ledge on the ground and is like execution testing me, that sort of thing. But versus somebody who is typically hanging out in this area, and of course he could like turn around and dash back and crouch here on a whim, right, as the mix-up, like, and punish you for double lasering. He could do that on a whim, but generally this is where he seems to be, and it happens throughout the game for a lot of during a lot of those sort of ledge mix-up opportunities. So I might just recommend to Avery that like at least like refresh one, like make your opponent prove to you. And again, this is from a group of games. For all I know, we're at this point in the mix-up, in this point of the layer, we're at this layer where we've punished enough double lasers to where we are convinced we need to start ledge dashing. Sure, that's fair. I'm just saying in a vacuum, or from what I've seen in these games, I think I might be a little more greedy for double lasers rather than this sort of greed of trying to hit our opponents from a disadvantageous state. And we somehow get hit here for, you know, essentially for nothing. I feel like this approaching laser was one of these examples of like hyper aggression, and not really being like willing to, I guess, pick your battle. Like this approach, the first laser is awesome. I love this first laser. It's perfect in every way. You like obviously don't get the combo, but you have the frame advantage and the tempo to set your own laser and get that out. But the second laser approaching, to me, this just looked very preemptive and not really with our opponent's position in consideration. And so I would have just loved to see another laser in place here, maybe some dash dancing, noting that our opponent has all this to kind of work with, right? I would just really love for Avery to fight for control first and foremost. Just given how the game has gone so far, it's just felt so sporadic and just like, are we fighting? No? Okay, let's fight. Are we fighting? Okay, let's try to keep fighting. And instead of like, I want to get things on my terms and try and set up for mix-ups where I have control and I can push you a little off balance before I try to commit, right? Instead of just trying to force these interactions, putting ourselves at risk when we don't need to, especially given this percent, you know? This doesn't really go that well for us a lot of the time, I would say. And out of our invincibility, once we lose the stock, it looks like we're waiting for some sort of roll. That seems reasonable. A lot of people will, you know, out of invincibility, freak out a little bit, maybe try to roll, play some sort of hyper defensive option. And my concern here is the way we chose to pressure. And look, I know this sounds like nitpicking here, right? I probably wouldn't even tell a student this, to be honest. Like it's just one of those things that I wouldn't be like that on them for. But with somebody as good as Ginger, I think he is more than capable of recognizing our opponent's percent, and thinking about like being efficient with our pressure given the percent. So and I notice this kind of throughout the games too, this desire to just have these extended pressure sequences. When you see this this dare out of the shines, this is a sign he messed up his multi-shine, essentially. This is what happens. His thumb goes over the A button, and he's holding down, so he gets to input this down air. And I'm not so much upset, like, yeah, you're gonna mess up multi-shine sometimes. Of course, it's a frame perfect input multiple times, depending on how many times you want to, or how long you want to do it, right? But for me, it's like, I don't even think we need to necessarily risk it. Of course, if you hit one of the shines, it probably combos into some sort of kill opportunity at 93%, right? But I just like, to me, this is an opportunity to just go for something simple that is a very high reward if it goes well. And that's something like, you know, single shine or maybe double shine into wave dash to the center to try and read a roll, or if we want to go here to read a roll away. I think that's like those are, again, pretty reasonable expectations from somebody in this position, this percent. We just came out of we have invincibility control, right? We don't necessarily have the invincibility anymore, but it gave us a little bit of tempo. Maybe, you know, he's kind of forced to shield here because of that, and we get to play an aggressive mix-up. So I would have liked to see a roll read or something like a shine fadeaway bear out of the shine. And it depends on which way you're facing, right? Had he been facing towards the Falco, I would have liked to see shine grab or shine nair fadeaway. But to me, this is like such a good spot to do that shine bear here, just because like this is pretty greedy from Lewis to try and shine this out of shield here. And he's pretty much dead if we do the back air, right? Like he's probably not DIing very well from trying to shine at a shield. And so if we catch him here, you can picture that single shine bear out of shield. There's a good chance it hits him, and if not kills him, sets up for a pretty easy edge guard, right? So I might just lean more towards those types of options given the percent. Again, it's a mix up. There's no like technically correct option. I'm just trying to like, I'm nitpicking a little bit, to be honest, but I think it'd be helpful. And so out of this this failed pressure here, we get sort of hit, and then we just try to continue fighting. Like, these are the types of this pick your battles really comes to my mind here. It's like, I don't really see this as like the spot to try and hit somebody, right? We're a little mini off balance because we just dropped some pressure and our invincibility hasn't amounted to anything, and we're down 2 stocks. Like, to me, this up air is like incredibly greedy, and honestly, we got a little bit lucky too. For some reason, Lewis is doing the most greedy shine I've ever seen in my life. Maybe he thought the bear somehow comboed, even though, you know, Avery's all the way down here. But if Lewis decides to shield after this back air and we go for this up air, yeah, maybe there's a chance at shield pokes or something. But this is just, you're just begging to get shield drop shined when you aerial a Falco without some sort of advantage, right? When he's on the platform, right? Because like I think Avery's good enough to realize that Lewis has the time to shield here. So I think this is it's a pretty greedy up air. Maybe he's just trying to make things happen given the percent. You can even tell with the option he picked after, it's a little bit of like, I wouldn't call it frustration, but just like, oh man, can this stock be over, please, you know? So I think it's another one of those opportunities where we need to take our temperature a little bit, be like, wait a second, like, we're not going to win the game from hoping our opponents don't happen to shield on platforms given the opportunity, right? After hitting us with some random bear. Like, I think if I paused it here for Avery before and I asked him what was going to happen, he would probably even shield here, right? And expect somebody to shield here. And I don't mind the nair attempt after. I thought this was going to hit upon first viewing. I can't tell if like he drifted back a little bit, or I guess, yeah, it doesn't look like he did. I think Lewis just, yeah, if you look at the inputs, it's like pretty much full drift, right? And I think it just wasn't spaced for it, and just not the time and place for it, I guess. I genuinely thought this was gonna hit, so I don't blame the attempt. And it's a pretty good response after. I think this is one of those things you might call like a babysit, right? Like, hey, I might do some crazy thing and try to hit you for where you're at, and he just, you know, plays good. He plays well out of it, right? It was kind of the miss nair does not feel good off stage in this situation, so Avery bails pretty well, I think, and then presents that he's going to maybe go back to stage and signal that he's not going to be at the sledge with his double jump he picked, and then just re-grabbing it as a nice mix-up he played. So of course this doesn't always work, it's a mix-up, but I thought it was well informed, and he kind of disguised his hand a little bit with this double jump refresh he did, so kudos there. So this next bit here, I think 99% of the time Avery knows that there's no reason to ledge dash here. Like, this is the freest double laser from ledge you could ever be given. His opponent is in absolutely like no range to be directly threatening him with something other than a laser, you know? So I think part of me thinks like, and I've fallen into this too, where in friendlies I'll just like only ledge dash just to get myself to practice it more. So maybe that's what's going on here. But if I'm surprised to see him not do it in this specific spot, right? Like, maybe when his opponent's like kind of nearby, sure, go ahead and ledge dash, even if it's not necessarily like super well advised. But this to me is just like such a clear opportunity to double laser, and instead you're just instantly, like, your opponent, I'd be so happy to see my opponent use their invincibility to run over here and then just like give me the opportunity to get some lasers out. Instead, Avery does like this ledge dash shield, you know? Not something I maybe would have advised, but he could be reading like an early aerial here. I'm not sure. I think if I'm trying to beat my opponent in the Falco Ditto, right? It starts with lasers one way or another. Of course, you can deviate from that and have mix-ups where you skip it and that sort of thing. But I have yet to see Avery here like truly establish laser control for more than a beat, you know? I don't even think even that. So like, to me, this is a bit concerning. It's a mix-up, of course. Running shield and trying to play out of your shield is definitely something you can do. I would have loved to see these types of mix-ups like run up shield played when we were at a higher percent, and we were playing mix-ups that maybe don't play as well given our percent. And that's maybe an opportunity to use shield a little bit more, just because you're expecting an opponent to use aerials, and then that's where you can catch him being greedy and using shield to shine at his shield, that sort of thing. But, you know, with us at low percent and the opportunity to shoot free double lasers and then use that laser control to play mix up later, like that's something that I would have preferred here, I think. And so now we're eating the shield pressure, and you can see Avery tried to shine out his shield here, and I actually really like the attempt given the pressure we've seen from Lewis up until this point. A lot of Falcos typically lean on West Ball shines, and not to get into the whole debate about using West Ball shines versus multi shines or just double shine or other pressure. I'll just say, like, typically I prefer variations of multi shines to West Ball shines, and one of those reasons is because you're very susceptible to mix-ups after the second shine of West Ball shines, such as just shining at a shield. So had Avery gone for a shine at a shield here a little bit earlier, he 100% punishes Lewis for this pressure he did. Now, of course, it's a mix-up, right? Like, if you, it's not really reactable, I suppose. You have to be, like, setting up for your opponent to Westball Shine and then saying, okay, I think he's going to Westball Shine. I'm going to Shine at the timing after. If your opponent decides to do, like, a multi-shine instead and you go to input it, you might get cooked, right? It might not always go in your favor to try and be shining out a shield versus opponent's shield pressure. I do think it's a good idea to test your opponent, right? Make them prove to you that they have clean pressure. And a lot of Falcos lean on Westball shines, so you can get away with doing shines at a shield at this timing where they're going to be in all this lag from landing, and you can just get a pretty easy shine at a shield. It's just unfortunate that we did it a little bit later in the pressure, and you could argue over how greedy that is or not. I think if you've spotted multiple Westball shines from your opponent, it's probably fair to expect them to do it again later, and maybe that's kind of what Avery was looking for here. So I commend him for trying to be on the lookout for that, because it's definitely something that you should look to punish if you can, especially when Falcos clearly aren't using a lot of multi shines. And this next sequence here is gorgeous. I absolutely love what Avery does here next. Of course, he drops the pressure, and that's its own conversation. But I think the really cool thing to talk about here is how well he adheres to the themes that we've kind of listed out, picking your battles, being comfortable with tension. So he comes out of this shine at his shield, and if I watch it one more time. Yeah, wait, I just noticed this. The side note, this is kind of crazy. He shines at his shield and short hop lasers out of it. That's wild. That's surely on purpose too, right? That's actually mega technical if you guys have ever tried that. That's pretty impressive. Anyway, so he shines at his shields and lasers out of it, which is cool. But again, back to the themes. I think earlier in this game, and a lot of the Dreamland game too, Avery is just hyper aggressive here. He's just I want to hit my opponent, and I want to hit him now. I don't care who's at advantage. I don't care how many lasers have been shot. I don't care where anybody is or what their percent is. I'm going in. And that's been kind of how he's been playing to this point. This is the first time I see him say, you know what, my opponent's a little bit off balance. I got him to burn his double jump and try and attack without using some sort of drift mix up and committing to an aerial. I'm going to use that to gain laser control, right? So he picked a battle. He said he chose not to pick this one. He's going to maybe pick one later. So he's adhering to that theme. And then this maintaining tension is really powerful, right? Because look how uncomfortable Lewis looks in this situation. I just want you guys to watch here. So he's short hop double jumping out of his pressure, trying to reach with this aerial, dashing back, eating a laser, walking a little bit, crouching, and then shielding. He's genuinely a little bit uncomfortable. Maybe not totally off balance, but certainly not in a position of strength, right? Now, of course, there's ways for him to win this mix-up. He could have, aerialed in place or done something to hit Avery for doing this running shine. But the key is that Avery established some sort of control, made his opponent feel a little bit uncomfortable here, played this dash dance mix-up. Am I going in now? Am I going in later? What do you think I'm going to do? And then he picks this battle here. And again, you guys can see, running shine pretty good at this percent. I mentioned it earlier. It sets up for some pressure. I'm sure Lewis was once again looking for a high aerial to try and shine it at a shield. So very good on Avery to adjust to that from earlier and say, actually, no, I'm gonna play the percents a little bit better. I'm gonna adapt to the fact that I know you're gonna shield a lot in these positions, and I'm gonna go in with something like a running shine, starting some pressure. So I really love this sequence, and I would have loved even more to see it more throughout the game. So I just want to highlight it. I think this is really good play. This is what the game should look like versus opponents who are typically playing these style of mix-ups. Of course, you can go up and challenge these people sometimes. I'm not saying back into the corner and laser forever. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying, generally speaking, this is the plan A, right? So let's talk about the pressure sequence. I know I was talking earlier about ways to beat Westball shines. I of course think it's still good. I think it can be pretty good in extended shield sequences, just because it's a lot easier to execute than multi shines over periods of time, right? The longer you multi shine, the more likely you are to mess it up. But just because it's a lot of frame perfect inputs. But Westball shines are a lot more lenient on your tech. So I can understand doing it sometimes, of course. I'm not sure how I feel about mixing it within, so it's hard to tell here, but I think Avery went for Westball shine into a multi-shine attempt, and then that's how he gets this dare out of it. He messes up the tech. We kind of saw something similar earlier. I would love to see Avery do it. If you've ever played against the guy, like, his shield pressure is normally phenomenal. And it's not just like, oh yeah, he's like clean on shield. It's like, no. He's very like sticky afterwards. So even if he'll like triple shine your shield here, right? And maybe you'll roll out of it and somehow not get punished. And then he's really good at playing the situation after, because he knows you're uncomfortable. He also knows you don't have he knows he doesn't have a true punish, right? He hasn't like read the roll necessarily every time, and so when he recognizes he hasn't read the roll, he's really good at picking the thing he does given that. And so he won't like directly attack you, but he'll make it feel like you're still in this pressure, you're still in some sort of like even combo almost, even though you haven't been hit yet. And so you'll often like get scared in these spots, and he'll get to extend his pressure again. But I think the more of these like extended sequences he does, the less likely he is to find himself in that situation that I described, where he can be sticky, he can make you feel like you're still under pressure, and that and still find these situations that he maybe wouldn't normally find an opening, but he'll create one anyway just because of the pressure he's put on you. So that's why I left a note about, you know, doing triple shines and reading rolls. I would have loved to see him do like triple shine, wave dash back, see what happens. Of course, mix up as always. It's just something that I think he should try to lean on more often. It's one of the strongest parts of his game. And even after that great sequence we saw, we kind of revert back to our instantly aggressing with no control ways. It's like round start all over again. He's like, you know what? I don't care about establishing control. We're just gonna go in. Forget picking my battle. I'm just gonna choose the first battle I see. And it doesn't. We very well could have gotten punished out of the up tilt too somehow. Like, luckily we're out of the range of some sort of instant attack there. I think maybe Lewis could have up tilted again if I watch it one more time. Let's see. Maybe not. Arwing makes it look kind of crazy. Nah, I think Avery's like holding to the... He's actually holding left there and then switches out. So, yeah, I don't think you necessarily get a combo here. But there's a lot of ways this Nair goes wrong for us. And I just, of course, mix-ups as always. I just haven't seen enough of let's get control first here. Like, imagine he jumps off, shoots a turnaround laser here, and Lewis is just up tilting, and we just have him a little bit off balance with the laser. Maybe we do a dash stance to try and, like, see if there's another up tilt. Like, a lot of Falcos will take laser up tilt again. Maybe we could whiff punish that, something along those lines. Instead, it's like, please, I want to fight right now. And so this next spot I think is honestly a little unlucky for Avery, but I do think we can make our own luck here, if that makes sense. You'll see what I mean. He does manage to, like, they both go for a laser, and Lewis is just a tiny bit faster and gets his own shine off. Literally, he's only 2 frames faster if you watch the inputs, right? 1, 2, yeah. 1, 2, yeah. So, of course, Avery could have been a little bit faster here, but I do think if you just lean on the rule of thumb to, like, have your initial laser not be a pivot laser. A lot of my students have heard me talk about this. Avery's actually, he was the first person to tell me about this and think about it a lot more, and to think about it more. When you're shooting your initial laser as Falco, and this goes for pretty much every matchup, and there's other variables at play, of course, and you should pivot laser sometimes. I think it has some use. But generally speaking, when it's your initial laser, if you're in a range where your opponent is able to threaten you, you should shoot a full drift turnaround laser rather than a dash pivot laser. I know it doesn't seem like much. Go test it out for yourself in Uncle Punch. You'll see what I mean. Just like have a fox within some sort of like the distance to dash up smash you. Try to shoot a pivot laser and then try to shoot a full drift turnaround laser instead, and you'll see what I mean. I know you like basically sacrifice some space to do that, and actually a fair bit of space, but you would rather sacrifice the space and hit a laser than risk getting hit and not sacrifice the space. Okay? Promise. Give it a shot. You'll see what I mean. Of course, again, mix-ups on all this, but I think generally it's a good way to play, especially with your initial laser. And so I think in this situation, had Avery shot the full drift turnaround laser, his would have been a couple frames slower, of course, but he would have created the separation here. I think he would still get it out, and then you guys just trade lasers here. But the worst case scenario is you eat the laser over here rather than here. And that's a much more favorable situation to play from, I think, instead of this. So small thing, something Avery's even talked to me about doing better, like not doing this pivot laser too often, but it can cost you sometimes. And I think this interaction here is like really emblematic of the themes. It's like we just want to hit our opponents so bad, and I get it, we're down a stock. Lewis tends to play on platforms a lot. I know we haven't seen it a lot this game, but take my word for it, I've seen it, and it happens a lot in the Dreamland game, and we just like want to go challenge. And of course, going for these full hop jump shines are an excellent way to do it. I just think that, like, again, if we're gonna think about percent, a couple things here. If we're gonna think about percent, there's a lot of ways that if you get dared out of this, it's pretty unfortunate for you, and you can end up getting punished for in the situation after, like this. I think I'm more inclined to do these sorts of mix-ups when I'm at a lower percent and I'm not scared of downer. And the other bit too is just like, we don't have to fight instantly, like, of course, we don't have I would say, me personally, I would feel slightly more in control here as the person in the center stage on the ground than my opponent on the top platform. I know not all players feel that way, and of course the positions swap very quickly, but generally, in a vacuum, maybe not down a stock in some percent, I would feel pretty good about being here relative to my opponent being here. So why do we feel the need to instantly fight, interact all the time in this spot? And of course, he's not doing it all the time. I'm just seeing it a lot. And it's not going well for us. So I would have loved to see maybe like dash dancing outside of a shield drop aerial range, maybe even going using a full hop laser here and landing on the side plat to sort of dissuade movement up here and force our opponent to come down to the ground and interact with us instead of being on platforms. And even like doing those lasers will put your opponent off balance too. If you go up like this, shoot these, imagine you shot those lasers, he goes to short up aerial like he did. He was gonna do a dare here no matter what. You laser him out of this now, he probably double jumps or like is a little uncomfortable from the lasers and lands, and you're landing here, and now you got a little bit of tempo. Maybe you go over there and aggress now that you've got a little bit of control, you've like pushed him a little bit, he's a little off balance, and then maybe we send one of these full hop shines or some sort of mix up like that. I just don't love instantly fighting every opportunity we get. And again, just want to highlight, it's just more unforced interacting from the ledge. I know it's not quite direct interacting, I guess you could say. We clearly don't want to instantly fight Falco. We're not trying to like ledge dash turn on up tilt or jump shine. This is, Avery's trying to ledge dash and get control of center with this dash into center. But to me, it's like I'm so not scared of being at the ledge versus this Falco at the moment. So at least get a refresh in, see what happens. I'd love to see some double lasers at least once, And again, maybe he's grinding his ledge dashes for sure. Fair enough. I'm just saying that's something I think we can look out for more and avoid getting hit for free like this. And at this point in the game, like we're down 3 stocks to 1. I can understand just like going to try and hit our opponents with anything, but this full hop back air and this double jump aerial is just like very telling. We've thrown the game plan out of the window when I see things like this, right? Like dropping the combo, whatever. We do an approaching laser out of this laser. That's great. I like a mix up here. We see this happen, and I don't like that our first instinct is to like hit with a back air. Like it doesn't, even if it cleanly hits. I know it traded here and we end up off stage because of it, but even if it cleanly hits, I just don't see us getting a lot out of this, right? Like we land on the platform, Falco gets center, and we hit a back air, like big whoop. Meanwhile, I think I would have loved to laser one more time here to try and catch this landing. Of course, there's the mix-up where Falco maybe lands on the platform or tries to drop through, and we have to play around those, of course. I think I like my odds playing one of those mix-ups revolving around not instantly interacting with an aerial a lot better than the value you get from maybe hitting this back air without trading. And then again, we're just quite literally doubling down. Like this kind of hit. Okay, oh gosh, I just want to hit something. I hope this down air hits, and we're just getting punished left and right for kind of instantly forcing these interactions rather than, I think Avery generally has a lot better recovery here and isn't necessarily always trying to hit his opponents. But this is what happens when let this be a lesson to you guys for trying to always hit your opponents every opportunity you get. it doesn't always work out in your favor. Okay, so we've made it to the next game. We're on Dreamland now. I think some of I think the themes will be a lot more apparent in this game, just because he's going to have the opportunity to establish control just because of how big the stage is, and he's just going to choose not to. So you guys will see a lot more of that this game, I think. Okay, so round start. I love this a lot more. I know we don't get a hit, and we don't necessarily set up for an aggressive mix-up instantly or anything like that. That wave dash forward kind of was that. But more importantly, we're not just like instantly yeeting ourselves at the Falco, foregoing laser control, all of that stuff. I think laser, shield your opponent's laser, get your next laser out ASAP is like chef's kiss neutral in the ditto at round start. Like, look how much control Avery has now. Now he gets to take all the stage, and I think he maybe could have like, if you shield this laser and then shoot this one maybe a little bit higher, you might catch the Falco before they get their laser out, and then you're just on your way to aggressing. But it's pretty tight. Either way, I think you have most of the advantage here. And you certainly could start to play an aggressive mix-up or set up for it, but I think we're just a little too far maybe for that. Like this wave dash forward under a laser, an approaching laser shine is a really strong option, or just trying to get under a Falco short op laser in place. I think we're a little too far to do it. Lewis could have done an approaching laser here, and so I don't mind this type of mix-up that he played here. I think it's maybe just like he's just trying to mash shine out of the laser and hope it works out. And admittedly, sometimes it does. I just think it's not necessarily the thing we need to be leaning on. But I suppose he's making the most of the situation. The key takeaway, though, here from this round start is like, we've established laser control. We're getting ready to set up for a mix-up somehow. That's what I want to see more of. And we throw it all out of the window with this full hop back air. Again, like, it kind of reminds me of the back air from earlier, where even if we hit it, like, maybe it somehow combos into shine, maybe. I don't like playing melee based on maybes. And I think there's a lot of ways this goes wrong, too. Like, if Lewis happens to be shielding this, it's just the freest shield drop shine. And we just don't necessarily get all the value in the world. I don't mind picking a different battle, you know? Like, let's keep the tension here a bit. Let him hang on the platform after this aerial. Let's be here ready to laser him on his way down and get ready for another mix-up. I would much prefer that sort of approach, generally speaking. So we kind of find ourselves in this position on the top plat, you know, with our opponent on the ground, kind of the opposite we were talking about earlier. And that's going to happen, and it's fine. I want to see Falcos come down from the platform in a safe way that tries to establish laser control, or at least set up to try and establish laser control. We got half of it. Avery certainly tried to come off the top plat and try and establish some laser control. It's just a bit greedy the way he went for it. Like, this is asking a lot to get away with, right? Just being without a hitbox all the way down here with an opponent actionable right here. I think you're asking for a lot. Me personally, I think I would take the less direct approach and either run all the way off the side, or the platform off the side of it, turn around, shoot this laser on my way down, or even dash to like center of the platform, shield drop, turn around laser. I mean, you could even drop through right here and laser. I just don't like getting in our opponent's threat range to get this laser out. I don't really see I don't see a whole lot of value in that. I would much rather prioritize keeping ourselves safe and getting a laser out, getting center control while our opponent is on platforms hoping aerials hit. Kind of similar to the Yoshi's DI we were talking about earlier, but I don't really see a reason not to just DI up here instead of out from this up air here. You have the argument that, like, maybe, okay, instead of up air, or Falco goes for shine waveland, and then he's here, and then you're up here. But I don't know. I think I prefer eating that mix-up instead of, again, ending up near a side platform where our opponent can introduce mix-ups that have a chance of killing us, right? Yeah. Of course, philosophical. Maybe you'd rather like make them play mix-up earlier while you have less percent on you, instead of like letting them rack up a little bit more damage and then end up trying to play defense from there with more damage, but you have more center. Different decisions could be correct or wrong there. I'm just presenting another perspective. So we come down with invincibility, use it pretty well, I would say. I like this. Unfortunate that we missed the wave dash out of this shine. Full hopping, it'll happen. Feels bad. We probably have a higher likelihood of following up if we hit the wave shine. We go towards the side plat. But I think Avery does his best to make the most of it. That's melee sometimes. Like, you're not always gonna have perfect tech skill. I will say, I don't know how I feel about these like multiple dares. Just like the meta these days is just people love sliding the stuff. Like, I think if I know Lewis is DIing to the right here, so maybe it wouldn't have happened. But I think a lot of people are just like sliding off these dares while they're on the platforms. And so I think I would have preferred... I just wanted to bring it up as an idea. I was going to ask for thoughts on runoff up air here. So you run off and then you kind of do your flip. You up air here and you land. The up air hits on your way down. They get popped up and then you get to go for some sort of extension from there. You might have an argument to like run off, shine Waveland onto the platform if you are feeling technical. The problem is I think shine's stale at this point, so you're going to get some spooky stun, which is why I initially suggested the up air. But I can see the desire to dare. I get it. I think it's like fairly reasonable a lot of the time. The meta's so prevalent with sliding off. I don't love spamming it a lot around these platforms. So out of the drop combo, these jabs are like, they're probably just an instinct. You're just like trying to get a hitbox out or whatever. I do think it's you can get good at spotting when opponents are hitting you with aerials when they're not supposed to. So like based on percent. So Avery could have shined here first before anything else happened, just because he was airborne when the dare hit him. I think like literally after, yeah, literally for a frame. And so you're going to land cancel and get to act first. And if he was ready, he could have shined here. It's hard. And that's probably why he went for jabs instead. Totally understandable. I just wanted to point out the opportunity. And I'll say this too. I actually really like up tilts in these sort of scramble spots. In the Ditto, honestly, all the time, Falco's up tilt is just really broken in scrambles, especially versus Spaceys, especially versus Falco. So I like that his instinct was there. But you guys can see it in my highlighted note. It's like we went from drop combo to scramble to not getting anything out of the scramble into instantly aggressing on our opponents. I get it. It's a mix-up. Not everybody wakes up with dash forward shine, okay? Like, we just kind of lost the rock, paper, scissors here. It's going to happen, totally. He super hard punishes a dash back at a shield. Or sorry, a dash back out of wake up. You can't dash back out of shield. Super hard punishes a dash back on wake up, or just shielding on the spot. This is like the one thing you get hard punished. This is the one way to hard punish you. So fair enough. I get it. I just haven't seen a whole lot of like control first mentality and then playing our mix-ups. It's been a lot of like instantly aggressing, instantly imposing ourselves without much control. And that's why I'm not super surprised to see Avery get punished for it. Right, like based on how I've seen him play in this game, I might have gone for a mix-up like this at some point too. So all I'm saying is, one laser in place here sometimes. You know, be willing to accept that maybe you don't punish a dash back here every time, or somebody shielding here, or even like wake up lasering if they're being greedy. At least you didn't get hit, and you have a little bit of control, and you can regain your balance, try to push your opponent off balance, go aggressive at that point. I feel like a bit of a broken record now, but I would love to see some control established. This situation, I'm a little more understanding of the running shine, just because he saw his opponent getting stuck in their shine and flubbing tech skill here. You know, sure, why not? Let's go aggressive. I get it. I would love to see some control prioritized. So we play some invincibility defense. My note is a little exaggerated here, saying, remember when we shot an extra laser? Take laser shine at this spacing is like pretty crazy to get away with. It's a mix-up, of course. I just, and I understand the laser he shot earlier was approaching, and that probably would have gotten punished by this shine as well if he did a laser approaching laser. But I do think worth pointing out, like, why not one more laser here? Genuinely, why not? Like, opponent's clearly not really making control a priority. Let's push them. Like, he literally just laser forward smash, you know? I think he's like pretty well set for the next thing, as you know, evident by this take laser shine. So why not get a couple more out? You know, the percent deficit, like, let's try to get control, a little bit more control before we aggress. I would love to see some late aerials. I don't think I've seen a single late aerial yet. Maybe there's one I miss, but that one would have, a late dare here would have been really powerful versus this type of mix-up. Apologies, I had to take a break, but I'm back, and we're going to continue with the analysis. So the first thing I'll say with this clip is, just the way Avery handles invincibility is a little, I don't know, it's weird to me because like we've been so willing to fight vertically for both of these games, and the one time I'm like kind of down to just ship these like full hop shines at spots where I think an opponent who's fairly jumpy is going to be, like the one of those times where I'd be down, he's like very not really for it. And then the one time, like, eventually he does come up with an aerial. Like, these are the times I'm willing to, like, sort of deviate from wanting to, like, maintain control on the ground and play with more, just being more grounded and control first, right? Just because, like, we have invincibility, let's ship a read or something. And, of course, like, you know, we went for this, I guess, and we were maybe reading some rolls, but it just is so evident to me that this is the type of way this person's going to try and avoid interacting. So like let's if we are gonna full hop aggressively, these are the times to do it. This next clip, I mean I don't and I'm the guy who down throw jabs too much, right? But if you're gonna go for it, I think it's got to be like a double dare here. Like you do a late dare after the jab reset into another dare to fully maximize the value you get from somehow getting away with this fairly cheesy thing. Like this down throw jab reset charge forward smash is you're never gonna get enough value for what you like for how infrequently this down throw jab reset will work. And so I know you guys don't necessarily like, this is in hindsight to you guys of course, but to me I remember watching this analysis in real time and thinking, okay, out of wake up I bet Lewis is gonna like full hop up here or like wave lane to side plat, and it's exactly what happened. And it's surprising to me that like Avery, who's typically super good at scouting people's habits and calling them out and being willing to, you know, maybe deviate from a game plan based on how he thinks somebody's playing, like hasn't scoped this out yet. I think I might even do it too much, where a lot of it I do it versus Fox a lot, and probably should do it more versus Falco, where you should just like ship a full hop shine at the spacing, or like assume the opponent is going to be somewhere in this space some percentage of the time as a defensive measure in the corner, just because a lot of people don't want to end up in this position where like you're gonna eat some sort of, you're down on frames and your opponent is like aggressing on you. Jumping out of the way is one of the most common ways to deal with it. And so I think going for more of these types of reads, especially when I think we should be able to have picked up on this habit at this point. And, you know, people talk about laser forward tilt a lot and how good it is. Sometimes it like gets a shield grab, blah, 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 whatever. I think this is the perfect time to use it the way he did it. Like post knockdown, it's spaced really well. So even if a shield managed to get up, which it couldn't have here, it doesn't look like, he would have been safe to some sort of out of shield thing. Like this is just like a perfect way to deal with this kind of like, okay, Lewis managed to get out of the issue or like the scenario and the pressure, tried to like get center back and fight forward just by full hopping out of there, and Avery's like, no, I still have some control and I'm gonna exert it with something like this. Really good. And I know we've talked about like how we corner pressure and dealing with like the ledge and us even being at the ledge and the ditto, and I'm starting to like what if we just lasered this guy 5 times in the corner and asked him how he's going to figure a way out? Because I haven't really been convinced that there's something like, I haven't been convinced that our opponent has mixed us up enough yet to where we need to be, I don't know, challenging ledge dashes with up tilt and shining out of our up tilts, praying it somehow hits a shielding opponent. Like I would love to just see Avery be here, hold some position, aggress on occasion, maybe go for our side plat reads like we were talking about earlier, instead of like, I like, and these are all reasonable things in a vacuum, right? Like these could work sometimes. I just, based on what I've seen so far, this is not going to be how you beat these sorts of options your opponent is picking from the ledge and out of the corner. I think it's going to be with like kind of squeezing them a little bit, just being like, okay, you're going to have to figure out a way out. Let's see you try and do it. I'm just noting this habit from these games, and funny enough, Avery and I have like not argued it, but we've like debated. You know, I typically tend to shield, I think, a little bit too much on platforms on wake up, or even light shielding a little bit too often, and then I'll go back and say like, well, I get reverse or I get hit less often when I'm not supposed to get hit, and then Avery will say, well, you're leaving some opportunities to hit your opponent when you're just always thinking about shielding. And so you could go back and forth forever. I think either way, important to point out that I think Avery's not shielding enough in these games on wake up on platforms. Like it looks like he tries to drop through aerial on wake up or something. I don't at first I thought maybe he was trying to wake up shine, which also very greedy, but I don't know. He uses a C stick down, maybe spot dodge. I'm not sure. He didn't get the trigger press. So either way, I think shielding, especially in a matchup where like shield drop shine is very, very potent. I think you could lean on a little bit harder, right? Especially when opponents are tending to be late this often with their punishes, right? Because like Bear combo gets dropped, and if Avery's shielding here, like Lewis is just trying some pressure on the side platform versus a shielding opponent with a frame one out of shield option. So I think that would tend to go in our favor if we're willing to shield here often. I think this part of the punish, like this getting the shine clanking with up tilt and then Lewis somehow continuing to get the punish is a little unlucky, because I don't think this dare was ever going to properly combo, and that's why Avery was like, oh, I can reversal out of this, but he wasn't. I think just you need like a tiny bit more of defensive awareness here to be like, oh, I've gotten. It's kind of hard actually, because like the aerial choice is pretty much unreactable, like at this point, right? And so like it's kind of tough to think like, oh wait, I'm allowed to shine here first and I've land canceled, and you know, I think that's why he tries to do it. Just a little unlucky. Then once again, he's like wake up choosing not to shield, and if I look at his inputs, he's like again holding down and then flicking down on the C stick and then I'm not quite sure what's going on. It must be some sort of misinput or something, I don't know. But yeah, I would choose not to get hit here most of the time. The problem with shielding in this spot, and I don't know how many of you know this, but I'm sure Avery does. If you shield here and you get pushed off from the top of Dreamland, you're actually gonna get knocked down. You're gonna enter tumble, and you're gonna have to tech, or you get knocked down. So it's not a favorable position necessarily, but I think you might prefer that to always getting hit here. I'm not sure. It's kind of tough to say what might be best. Maybe you just like go for a roll on wake up and then accept getting hit sometimes. I'm not sure. But there's clearly a habit of like not protecting self on wake up on the platforms that we need to address. And look, I know this dash attack hits versus the F smash startup, but like, I mean, my note kind of explains it, you know, like we really had to try and hit the opponent the very first chance we got. To me, it's a bit of impatience and like just this desire to make things happen instantly, regardless of how unfavorable the situation is. I would have much appreciated the fact that like, or I would have appreciated if Avery tried to prioritize some sort of control here, even a dash back first. You don't necessarily even need to laser here, just to like reassess the situation, get some control. You know your opponents drop the combo, so like there's a pretty good chance they like overextend afterwards, and I think this forward smash is maybe an example of that. And yeah, we get away with the dash attack, but it's just this theme, this pattern I'm seeing of like, an opportunity to attack, even though I've done it every single time I've had the opportunity to. Let's do it again, and it's just it's not very creative. I just want to reiterate that like these wake up dash attacks out of situations where we also agreed not to protect ourselves is just asking a lot if that's how we're going to try and win the game, right? And again, I know this is a mix-up, like the opponent doesn't necessarily have to wake up every single time and not like, or sorry, wake up in place every time. He could obviously tech roll in and Avery would be correct with what he did, but we've covered this so many times. Even I've noticed, like just when I was watching the games in real time, that this we're overweighing the tech roll in here, and it's time to like start calling out the tech in place. Again, maybe in the other games there was a lot of tech roll in, and then this is just an example of the players adapting, but still, I think it's happened enough in these games to where Avery should be able to notice it. And then this next piece, I think, is like very thematic, this clip here. So just give it a watch, right? So Lewis on wake up, full hops out of the corner, double jumps, falls back into the corner. And what does Avery do here? He kind of like follows, but like a beat slow. And I think it's like a very, very good example of not maintaining tension. And it would have been a great opportunity to maintain the tension, right? Because put yourself in Lewis's shoes. He's like somehow managed to make this combo work a million times. He ends up dropping it eventually, and he's like, I'm gonna rip a wake up forward smash, and it gets dash attacked, and he's like, oh god, like this is kind of, I'm a little off balance, this is a little freaky. I guess I'm gonna tech in place and wake up, and oh man, I have to shield now. My opponent didn't like. They got their read wrong, but they still have center. I probably need to protect myself somehow. And what's a common one we've been talking about a lot out of the corner? It's been full hop, and so he's been doing that. And it's reasonable to do as a defensive measure. But, like, he full hops and then kind of just double jumps out preemptively. Like, he doesn't... I think he was just kind of still shaken up. And so maybe he saw Avery short hop and thought that was, like, he was going to try and attack him, so he double jumps out. I don't know. But the point is that you've you've gotten your opponent to put themselves in such a very awkward position. Like, yeah, you haven't hit them and you don't necessarily have a kill yet, but this is like, if I could choose the top 5 best positions to be in on the stage, it would not be here without my it would not be here without my double jump, right? This is not up there on my list. So why have we chosen to essentially abandon this advantage we've gotten to like maybe pressure this on delay? Like, why not just stay on the ground, man? And I get that like there's a mix up here, right? If he double jumps and then drifts to the top plat, Avery like has this mix up to where he can like full hop back and punish him. But to me, it's like we've seen this person full hop and double jump so often that maybe we should just chill out on the ground a bit, you know? And I've done this. I understand where this is coming from, and I understand that for a lot of this analysis, I've been saying, oh, why don't we like read the platform movement and stuff? And definitely you should. I think it should be more common in the situations I described earlier, where you've got invincibility and you're reading movement with full hop shine, or if it's like a defensive, like, oh, they woke up in the corner and they're probably going to use a side plat to escape, or they're trying to escape the laser war by using the side plat. In those situations, I really like aggressing on platforms with a shine or something like that. But I think this situation is just different enough to where I'm willing to accept the fact that sometimes they just get the top plat here at risk of with the risk of having burned their double jump to get there, and I just get the center of the stage. Like, I think I'm okay with that a majority of the time. Like, that's not bad, you know? What is bad is that we've let our opponent like full hop, burn their double jump, spend an entire like all these frames without any resources, lasering on the way down, so not having a hitbox for all of that while being unactionable, just because we like wanted to continue, like we wanted to maybe hit our opponent here. And again, we're like 70%, they're at 80. A back air is nice, but it doesn't necessarily get a kill. I'll tell you what though, what gets a kill, you vibe here, right? Maybe you dash, see if they land here and put pressure on it. You might not get a true punish, but you put some pressure on it. You vibe here, maybe get a laser out if you think he's going to drift back. And then you can just aggress on this Falco who's burned his double jump and is coming down with the laser. I think this is like a very, very high value situation, right? Like we could easily take a stock from this spot, you know, easily, especially Avery of all people, right? With a punish game like his. So the main takeaway, I think, and I understand there are mix-ups here, there's no correct answer. The main takeaway is that when your opponent is under pressure, there's a bit of tension in the situation. Don't be the one to break it every time. Make your opponent feel the pressure and the tension that they've been put under for a little bit. Of course, don't always just like never attack your opponent. I'm not saying that. What I am saying though is like eventually someone will make a mistake in some of these positions, or they'll overcommit to something like burning their double jump or coming down with a laser where they have no hitbox out this entire time. And if you're just not committing to anything quite yet, and you keep your stage control, all the stuff you've worked really hard for in neutral, you'll find these you'll have more of these opportunities where your opponent's just like a little off balance, and you'll convert a lot more easily, I think, than maybe like chasing them up to the air like this, right? Foregoing your own control and even giving your opponent a bit of control. So I hope that makes sense. I know it's a bit of a tirade and it's a bit of a rant and there's a lot of mix-ups involved with this, but I think the theme is important to mention, and I haven't seen it exhibited enough throughout these two games. So this next piece I think is actually a really good example of staying on the ground versus somebody who is on the platform, and then playing a mix-up versus their landing. So of course it doesn't pan out and he gets his shield up in time, but I much prefer this sort of mix-up that Avery's playing, even though he doesn't get the hit, to maybe like full hop aerialing right now. He might have done that earlier in the game, honestly, and then getting shield drop shined, or getting aerialed on the way up. Like, well, he comes down and then we get hit on the way up, and then we get knocked down and it turns into some punish. I much prefer what he's done here, where he stayed fluid, right? I think a lot of Falcos would laser in the spot somehow, like they would set up for a laser, and that's okay, like it's fine, but I think staying mobile is the key here in these spots where your opponent is airborne. Like, you're not going to hit Falco with a short op laser up here, right? And Avery knows this, and that's why he's like staying mobile, staying fluid, trying to play a mix-up of some sort. I think a dashback jump shine would have for sure whiff punished this dare, but I can understand going for this dare too. He's not too late. Yeah, and he actually, yeah, he was like fine to play the next mix-up after, Looks like he was just yeah, I mean, Lewis is going to get the opportunity to shoot a laser out of this first, just because he's blocked an aerial and is going to, you know, a high rising aerial, so he's going to get his opportunity to play his turn first, I guess. But I think this situation is still pretty decent for us. We can play neutral from there. And the start of this pressure I don't love necessarily, but the choice of like what happens after, like choosing to have a nair involved somehow, I think is awesome, just given the percent. Especially, I know we talked about like, oh, he's like maybe overdoing his pressure on shield with like multi shines or Westball shines, whatever. This is an example of like, I think I might have preferred, like if I was really wanting to nitpick here, I would have preferred shine, nair out of the shine, drift away, just to keep yourself safe for what might happen out of the, like if he there's a world where you shine empty hop here and like you get hit somehow, like maybe the shine misses here, of course, but maybe they do like an aerial out of shield or they roll out of it or something, and so there's a good chance you don't get a follow-up if you just short hop in place like this in those spots. You might even get hit, but a shine instant nair out of it has the opportunity sometimes to like hit rolls on occasion, like it can hit the startup, and for sure give you the opportunity, and will for sure hit shine out of shield attempts. I mean, we hit it here as well, but if we're trying to be like super extra clean, there are worlds where we get punished for shine empty hopping like this into a nair, and I would have preferred a shine instant nair. But for not being nitpicky, I just want to say like a nair in general here is really, really good pressure. A good way to end it, I think, just because like given the percent and the position on the stage. So well done here. Again, I'm going to sound like a broken record, and we're not going to harp on it too much, but this is just another exhibit of like, did we have to ledge dash here? Like, this is the most space I've ever had in the corner ever, and especially in the ditto, like a double laser here would be so money, dude. Like I really think we need to pay attention to that a bit more. And so this thing, I'd be impressed to see this happen, but this was actually a double dare spot Avery could have done. I think it's really hard to see. Like this is just an uncommon position to set up for a double dare, but I think he 100% could have done it, just because he hits this dare late at like a 13%. It's totally doable. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he could have done a double dare, and that would give you a lot of extra percent, and maybe it makes it so the rest of this punish isn't as tricky. Like Lewis gets a DI to this platform, and then he misses the tech, and Avery goes for a read on tech in place. So, you know, if we're trying to be like really, really perfect and precise, I think a double dare here would have been really good and doable. And so for this edge guard, I mean, of course, as always, loads of mix-ups, and I don't necessarily hate the way Avery did this here. I do think the one thing that is like objectively he probably could have done differently is his ledge grab timing right here. Like to me, this just seemed kind of early. I'm watching it again. So, and I think the point of doing it is like, oh, what if they side B? But I think because of how far away Lewis is, I think you have time to be grabbing ledge like now instead, even if he did a side B. And I think you still get there in time before the side B gets there. Pretty sure. Probably I'd have to lab it to confirm. But because of the ledge grab timing, it makes the rest of this edge guard tricky. So that's why Avery does like the shine stall, sees the up B, does this like waveland down smash. Obviously like not ideal. He even had time to just grab ledge too if he wanted, but again, it's like maybe he's uncomfortable with his timing here, and so that's why he kind of just bails a little bit. But I think if he's really aware, he either grabs the ledge at a better timing or just recognizes he can grab ledge out of the shine stall double jump. Not to harp on it too much, but we're just like attacking and shipping dash attacks, hoping it somehow works out of these rolls. Like we've got our opponent short hop double jumping for essentially nothing. Like imagine this was just like a dash back full drift turnaround laser here on Lewis's double jump landing, and we just get to play an aggressive mix up from there, or continue to exert pressure and control. Instead, it's like, please, I hope this dash attack hits, please. And I can understand, like we dropped an edge guard that probably should have turned into a kill, and we're somehow getting hit anyway, and we rolled out of it, and I get it, but this isn't going to be the way we win the game, right? So I know we've been talking about the top plat and attacking it a lot. I don't even mind the way, like if we're going to attack the top platform, this is the way I like to do it, right? Spaced back air, where there's no risk of like a shield drop shine or something like that, right? But part of me also thinks like, what if we just like kept hanging out, maintain control here? Like this dude is literally short hop daring in place on the top plat. Like he all he wants is for you to attack him here and turn your aggression into his own hit. That's all this is. And like, it's literally burns double jump, shield, light shield, actually. Light shield, dare in place, shield. Like, please come try to hit me, please. And so, of course, we, you know, if we're going to do it, this is a good way. But I'm just not a fan of, like, we can just continue to hang out in center or a little bit off where he is, right? Maybe not directly below. And we can play one of those mix-ups like we did earlier where we dash backed. We dash away, dash backed in and went for an aerial or maybe a dash jump shine or something like that. So we've skipped forward a good bit here, but I really like this sequence here. And I know what you're thinking, Joe, he's just like, yeah, all right, fine, you just have to shoot a bunch of lasers in place, that's the secret. And it's like, no, you guys are getting this all wrong. Our opponent here chooses not to interact. They've just said, fine, you want to have control of the stage, go for it. You got the first laser out, I don't want to try and play laser mix-ups after that, let me just get out of here. And instead of like, I don't know, just aggressing on this somehow, and of course there's a chance it works, like you go for your full hop shine. This is arguably a pretty decent percent to go for it, like during this, in this percent window, and it might have even, like, a full hop shine would have gone pretty well here with like the option. He went for a instantly like shield drop laser, right? So sure, you have an argument there, but I think the greater point is that we have all of this control we've established, right? It's like, no, this is my stage now. And then we played some sort of aggressive mix-up, right? And I think this is really well informed based on the percent as well. Because I think if we get dared here, we don't get knocked down either. It might still somehow combo into shine if we don't, it like might magically space perfectly. I typically don't, like when I do those down airs, that doesn't usually work out in my favor. So I'd be surprised to see it happen here. So I do like the running shine given the percent we're at. And shine, again, if we're looking at our opponent's percent, is something that opens them up really well. Like, our aerials don't necessarily combo super well at this percent. So this is really well informed by Avery. I love that he established some control first and then went for an aggressive option. This is going to sound weird, okay? It's going to be kind of weird to understand and maybe hear, but I would have rather, I actually don't like that you... Knowing you could hit your opponent here, if you told me you could hit your opponent here for sure, 100% with this full hop back air, I think I would have actually just preferred you to not do it and to roll in. I know it sounds strange, but look where we end up because of this back air. The percent doesn't really, like, if they're at 120, 100%, absolutely try and full hop back air your opponent. But hitting a back air at this low of a percent doesn't really turn into anything. In fact, it doesn't, like, we've just given up a bit of stage and our opponent now has center. Something I think that it's the unintuitive thing to do, but I think it would have been the correct thing to do is just get to center somehow from this position. Like, or if we're going to try and hit our opponent, go for something like a full hop shine or maybe a short hop up air. The problem with shine is I think you're late here. I don't know how this, does this shield poke somehow? Yeah, like, I think there's a chance we get shield drop shined if we happen to shine a shield instead. And I get that we drift this backer away, so we would have technically been safe from a shield drop shine, but maybe it still hits actually if he like delays the shield drop. But anyway, the point is, I would much prefer we go this way right now and let our opponent hang out here, then get 12% and end up like this. Okay? I know it might sound crazy. It's just how I feel in this situation. I think the position and the stage and the control is all much more important than an extra 12%. Look, I get it. We're trying to fight and we're aggressive players and you know, we're trying to finish the game, right? We've got our opponent under pressure. They're jumping around. I get it. You want to attack. Running shine, aerial, nair at them, dash dance, dare. It's like, okay, one time, sure, we're going to play a mix-up, try and cash in right away. Fair enough. But this is just like, please, I hope something hits. Please, I hope something hits. Does this hit? No? How about this? How about this? And our opponent is like, okay, I guess I'll just up tilt in place. And I know we get away with it, but I think there's a lot of worlds where this doesn't work out in our favor. And we just like so clearly want just neutral to be over and to instantly fight. And I would have loved to establish some control. Maybe a nitpicky punish thing, but I think something we could expect more from a player of Avery's caliber. This weak bear is never going to combo. It doesn't. I doubt he tried to weak bear on purpose here. He probably tried to hit strong bear, I guess. But but I think it's enough to ask him to do maybe like a dash back and then dash in full hop strong bear. It's tough to tell. Maybe he'll land on the side platform. It's tough to make that decision in the moment, and it's also like you've just wiggled out and then shined. So this is maybe not a common scenario. You hit a shine, fair enough. But I do think we at least have the ability to recognize that this back air from standstill, like full hop with like a slight drift forward, is not going to combo into anything at this percent. I think we at least have the wherewithal to go for like a full hop shine and then wave land and play the mix up on his DI, or go for a short hop up air, play the mix up on his DI. Or if we're like really cognizant, we do the dash back, dash in, full hop strong bear that I described earlier. And again, I might be nitpicking here, but and of course, if this back air hits out, I think it's a lot better than the way what happened here. I'm not going to necessarily blame him for like accidentally reversaling it. It's going to happen sometimes. We just got to be a little bit more aware. But what I think I might take slight issue is I feel like 99% of people are DIing in here. I get it. A mix-up. I understand. But no jump, right? And I'm pretty sure no jump. Let's watch it one more time to confirm. Yeah, I don't think Lewis lands here. He just goes from side B animation to getting shined. So no jump Falco right now. I know I'm holding in. Last stock, of course, right? Like 9 times out of 10. And so I would be willing to bet that someone's going to hold in, and if this back air strong hits the correct direction, I think even without a jump at 83%, I don't think we necessarily get a kill here, and they're going to have like a pretty decent time recovering just because of how close to the center of the stage are. They've got all this room to DI. Again, hitting an opponent off stage without a double jump with a strong aerial at this high of a percent last stock, reasonable, very, very reasonable. I would probably do it a lot of the time, but I think we can make our lives a little bit easier here and maybe do a jump shine waveland to here, and then we've got him without a jump up here, and then he's like in mix up hell at this point. I think a lot of people will just continue to hold in here. Yeah, and maybe even if you don't want to do the shine waveland, I'm trying to brainstorm what might be better. I feel like maybe up tilt in place could be good. There's a chance like if you let him fall and then you just up tilt, there's a chance he just like can DI to a platform and tech before we hit him. So maybe not. Not sure. I'd have to get in the lab with this one. What do you guys think? Perfect time to say comment what you would do here instead. But I think it's tricky. I think it's fair to assume your opponent might DI in. It's very likely to DI in here. Maybe you could. Did I say short hop up air already? Short hop up air here. And then I think you definitely would have time to hit him one more time up here. Rack up a little bit more percent before you push him off stage. But again, totally understand the idea of putting your opponent off stage while they don't have a double jump at like a reasonably high percent, even if it won't for sure give you a kill. And again, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but like, what if we just didn't attack the top plat every time? I'm a little more okay with it given the percent, and it's last stock. Strong backer would be pretty good here. I don't think it necessarily kills. I might have just preferred to maintain control, right? This big area here, instead of giving it up, letting our opponent. Now we've like sort of traded places, right? Now they have the control, and like instantly attacking after from the side plat. Like, is this attack really that much better? Doing a downer from the side plat here, last stock, all this percent. Is this really better than like keeping control here and trying to set up for our opponent's mix-ups off the platform just because we have stage and they don't, right? I feel like this scenario would be better for us to deal with rather than the value we might gain from short hop off instantly from a full hop aerial into another aerial. It's last stock, so it's tough to expect a lot in these spots, but I do think if you ever, and you guys should take this too, if you ever see a Falco in shield with his back towards you, this might be anecdotal, but I feel like all of them are AC bearing out of shield if given the opportunity. All of them, especially this percent last stock. Hello, yes, I would love to hit an AC bear right now, right? So laser F tilt, I think pretty decent here because you might catch that AC bear like the startup if they do it early. Lewis waits here, and one of the ways you can punish this AC bear out of shield is just dash tacking it. As a whiff punish, you can dash dance on reaction, ship your dash tack and punish this AC bear really easily. So I would have loved to see that instead of like this up tilt. I think there's a lot of worlds where the up tilt works pretty well. Maybe if the percent is different, or if you're a little faster, the spacing's better, maybe. But I think if I think a lot of people are willing to do this AC Bradish shield, and Avery knows that, I'm sure. And he's actually the one who told me about this dash attack, so I would have loved to see that here. It would set up for a kill pretty well too. And we've got like another like full hop kind of committing, semi-committing choice in neutral into instantly attacking off the side plat again. Like the risk we like, I don't know. Like our opponent even they hit us with the side plat aerial, and it doesn't get them a whole lot, and we're like, huh, maybe we should try it. You know, I would have just loved, again, just keep control, maybe standing here expecting an instant attack off the platform and just up tilting it, and you just get the easiest combo or kill after that. And then it's just, you know, I think, again, it's last stock, I get it, high percent. But I would have loved to see, like, we know our opponent's burning their double jump here, right, and landing. Let's get a laser out, right? Let's get control of the situation while our opponent is freaking out doing double jump dares from the ledge, short hop double jumping out of the corner. I guess there's a chance they mix it up with like falling through here with an aerial, but I think we're fine to shoot a laser in place here. So picture you get that laser out, and they're like landing without a jump. They're probably freaking out, hence the like instant dash attack. You did like, Avery did like the one thing that gets punished by an instant dash attack here, right? This approaching laser, just like super aggro aggression, you know, at this percent especially. I would have loved a little bit more control. I think that's obvious at this point, and it would have probably won us the game.